Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for that we do at Esther month. We do a session here, mostly here at Veda. और हर बार हमारी कोशिश रहती है कि हम अलग अलग टॉपिक्स लेकर आएं जो रेलेवेंट हैं हमारी जर्नी के लिए. Many of you attend many of our sessions. Thank you so much for doing that. कभी कभी मुझे लगता है आप लोग राइटिंग कब करते हैं, बट अभी नहीं लग रहा है. So thank you for being here. My name is Satyanshu Singh. I'm the events chairperson at SWA. And आज का जो इवेंट हम लोग लेकर आए हैं आपके सामने वो हम सब के लिए बहुत ही एक्साइटिंग है, बिकॉज इस स्टेज पर वी हैव हैड रियली सीनियर पीपल कम एंड टॉक अबाउट लास्ट 30 years of their career, and that is always inspiring. We have invited producers, we have invited directors, लिरिसिस्ट लोगों को इन्वॉल्व करके बहुत अच्छे अच्छे इवेंट्स यहाँ पर हुए हैं. मगर बहुत रेयरली ऐसा होता है कि जो अपकमिंग राइटर्स हैं उनको हम सुन पाएँ कि वो किस स्ट्रगल से गुजरते हैं और उनके कोपिंग मैकेनिज़म्स क्या हैं. और कई बार मुझे लगता है कि जो सीनियर क्रिएटर्स हैं उनको भी सुनना चाहिए कि ये जो यंगर क्रॉप है वो क्या फील करता है अबाउट द क्रिएटिव प्रोसेस. With all of that in mind, we have curated this session. We hope that it's fun. I really like the design of the poster. I hope it's fun and youthful, because I'm going to be the oldest person on stage today. The three panelists are extremely talented, young, hardworking, sincere writers, and I'm very excited कि आज वो हमारे साथ हैं. तो मैं एक एक करके उनको स्टेज पर इनवाइट करना चाहूँगा और हम यहाँ से शुरू करते हैं. सो सुचिता, देखो मैं तीनों को मैं पर्सनली जानता हूँ. ये शब्द नहीं एक्सप्रेस कर पाएंगे हाउ हाईली आई थिंक ऑफ देम, बट आई विल डू द फॉर्मेलिटी. Suchita Ranglani has studied screenwriting at Whistling Woods International, where she was presented with the Excellence in Screenwriting Award in 2015-2016. Since then, she has been working professionally as a screenwriter. She has written commission feature films for Ronnie Screwvala's RSVP, Drishyam Films, and Athena Productions. She has recently sold her spec screenplay that she co-wrote and that is currently in its pre-production stage. Suchita has previously worked at companies like UTV and Viacom18 as an assistant director on ad films and web series, and has also been a Young Critic at MAMI Film Festival in 2015. Suchita, welcome on stage. Akshay Parvatkar is a writer-director from Goa and a graduate of the screenwriting program from FTI Pune. He has made several acclaimed documentaries and short films, including Grandmother's School, The First Wedding, which won a Filmfare Award, and Gun Chakkar, which he co-wrote and is streaming on Amazon Mini TV. Akshay has been part of multiple writers' rooms and development teams with notable production houses like Bharat Bala Pictures, Creative Land Asia, Ontilo Pictures, and T-Series, and has served as a lead writer for a TVF show. His talents earned him the 2024 Keep Walking Fellowship by Film Companion, which included attending the Cannes Film Festival this summer and the production of a short film which he'll be writing and directing for them. Akshay. And finally, Yashna Malhotra is a graduate of the UCLA School of Theatre, Film and Television, where she earned her MFA in screenwriting. Her writing has been recognized by the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, that's BAFTA, the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, Film Independent, and the Museum of the Moving Image, among others. Yashna also holds an MSc in Integrated Marketing Communication from Northwestern University in Chicago. Prior to pursuing screenwriting, she worked in advertising in Mumbai, Chicago, and New York, where she helped inject a sense of storytelling brand personification to well-known international and local brands. Yashna currently has projects in different stages of development for global streaming platforms, one of which is Gandhi by Hansal Mehta. Yashna.
Hello. So I realized a little while ago that none of you have Hindi as your first language, but you are working for the Hindi film industry. Feel free to talk in the language, choosing between Hindi and English, because you have to be comfortable and you have to be articulate and you have to express yourselves properly. मेरी अंग्रेज़ी बहुत अच्छी नहीं है, तो मैं हिंदी अंग्रेज़ी मिला के बात करूँगा. ओवरऑल काम हो जाएगा अच्छा. ऑल द बेस्ट टू अस. ऑल राइट. सो यहाँ पर जो लोग हैं और जो यूट्यूब पे हम लोगों को देख रहे हैं, सबके मन में, ज़्यादातर लोगों के मन में, जमा सर के मन में ये सवाल शायद नहीं होगा, मगर ज़्यादातर लोगों के मन में एक सवाल है जो आप सब चाहते होंगे कि जल्द से जल्द वो सवाल पूछ लिया जाए. तो मैं उसको थोड़ा बाद में पूछता हूँ. सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट जो मुझे लगता है एक सवाल है, मुझे लगता है कि इस कमरे में जितने लोग हैं, ज़्यादातर लोग यहाँ इसलिए हैं क्योंकि कभी हमें सिनेमा से प्यार हो गया और फिर हमने इसको प्रोफेशन बनाने का डिसीजन लिया और हमारे और सिनेमा के प्यार में के बीच में फिल्म इंडस्ट्री आ गई, जो कहने लगी कि अगर सिनेमा से प्यार करना है तो मुझसे भी प्यार करो, हम तीनों एक दूसरे से प्यार करेंगे. तो मैं वापस ले जाना चाहता हूँ आप तीनों को पूरा फिल्म इंडस्ट्री को छोड़कर टू दैट मोमेंट व्हेन यू फेल इन लव विद द मूवीज, बिकॉज आई नो यू गाइज आर स्मार्ट एंड हार्ड वर्किंग इनफ कि आप कुछ भी करके पैसा कमा सकते थे. यू कुड हैव चोजन अदर करियर्स, बट यू डिसाइडेड टू चूज स्क्रीन राइटिंग and to work for films. Why? Suchita?
Check. Yeah. So I was studying I did my bachelor's in mass media, and amongst the 36 subjects over there, one of them was understanding cinema. And one day, a very inspiring teacher walked into class and trapped me, I would say. I fell in love with filmmaking. I always loved stories. I always loved films. But I started seeing the process of filmmaking, and just the project that we did that year made me fall in love with it. But I still kind of always saw it with awe, like something that I can't really do. And then soon enough was the Sundance Screenwriters Lab, 2016, 2017. And without thinking too much, a friend of mine pushed me again to kind of just participate. And I participated, and I think by mistake, I got into the semi-finalist round. And I was told that now you have to give in a full script. And I was like, how do I do that? But again, with the help of great mentors and my friends, I kind of just wrote it. And there was a moment at 3 a.m. in the night where I was reading my script and I couldn't feel a thing and I was crying. And then I just started to smile because I realized that if this is my problem for the rest of my life, that I'm reading something that I've taken a lot of time to write, and it's not affecting me. I don't care about anything I've written of the 75 pages I've written. But if this is my problem, I'm good. And that's how I decided that I'm trapped.
So you, those 75 pages didn't do anything to you because you were too happy or because it was too bad?
It was too bad.
Okay.
Like, I think that the worst thing a film can do is not make you care. And I read those 75 pages of my own writing, and I didn't care about any of it. And I started crying that, what have I done? But I was happy with that struggle.
This is quite remarkable. बहुत कम चीज़ें होंगी उससे आपको इसलिए प्यार हो जाता है क्योंकि बहुत ख़राब है. But this is such an essential part of what we do, that we write something and it's not working and then we work on it for another few years and then it starts to make sense. I'm glad you had that awareness because most of us just feel too bad to act and then we abandon it or whatever. Okay. So it was basically life circumstances which kind of guided you towards this, but I also like that it was a script lab which kind of gave you a tangible, it became a tangible part of your early part of your journey. But then you went to Whistling Woods, before or after?
After.
Yeah, so tell us slightly about that.
So I actually first did the 5-day workshop that Anjum sir does. And through that, I realized that I really want to do this. But my parents were totally against it. Were like, film industry, are you mad? So I spent 1 year. I did I started my master's in English literature, and my parents just saw the conviction and actually the joy that like screenwriting gave me. And it made me a more disciplined person. I never was before that. I became a geek because of cinema. So I think my parents saw that and they finally agreed. And I went to Whistling Woods and I felt very privileged to be there. Because even in the tour that I was taking, I could see behind every door, cinema is being discussed, which seemed amazing. And I do feel like that 1 year was it was amazing. Also because I just got to learn the craft without any consequences, right? So that was lovely.
And you are from Mumbai. You're born and brought up here, and still your parents thought that film industry is not a good place. Yeah. So all of us outsiders, we blame our parents a little too much. अगर बॉम्बे में रहने वाले लोगों को भी लगता है कि फिल्म इंडस्ट्री सही जगह नहीं है हमारे बच्चों के लिए, तो फिर मेरे मम्मी पापा जो बिहार में बैठे हैं उनको हम क्या दोष दें. Okay, Suchita, thank you so much. Akshay, you are not from Mumbai.
Yeah, I'm not from Mumbai. I'm from this lovely place called Goa. So my entry into filmmaking was very accidental. I mean, I did my bachelor's in engineering. And so I used to do photography, basically. And one of my seniors came to me and told me, we have to shoot a film for a college event. So since you do know photography, you'll be able to shoot it as well. So that's how I landed, I made a short film which I wrote, shot and directed. So that was my first foray into filmmaking. It was directly making a short film. So from that point onwards, I ended up making 8 short films in the 4 years for each college event. And that is where I first fell in love with films. And I had no idea about I would pursue this as a professional career. But when I was working in Goa in a museum, that's where I found out about FTI, and I always thought somebody who's done engineering wouldn't be able to get entry into FTI. But where I was working at the museum, and an ex-chairman had come to visit that museum, and from there I found out I can also apply at FTI. So, I mean, this might not be the right place to say this, but I applied for writing mainly because it was the shortest course. And because FTI has been infamous for like the 3 years courses going on for 5 years or 6 years, which I didn't have it in me to study for so long. So, and I think that is the best accidental mistake that I've done in my life, because I really fell in love with cinema at FTI. It just opened my mind to so many things, and I realized I had so much in me to sort of write, because I had not done much of writing before that. But it is at FTI that I realized, I can do this. And yeah, it's been a while and I'm still doing it, so that must be something.
Good, thank you. Yashna?
Is this on? Yes, it is. That's an excellent question. I think like what I'm hearing here is that it was accidental, and I think for me also it was accidental. I think I'm someone who likes structure in my life, and I had a plan for my life, and I studied marketing and I did all of that. And I think it was that not working out that really gave me the courage to go into this, because I didn't have the courage to pursue it earlier. In fact, I ran away from it. But the love was always there. It was there since childhood. in school, in college, like I was always writing and directing, you know, the school plays, making short films and all of that. So it's a dream that I had, you know, as a young person. And then as I grew older, I wouldn't say it was anyone like telling me you can't do this. It was more just like conditioning and telling yourself that this is very hard. So just pick something that's maybe easier. But then when I went into that, I realized it's not easier. So if I am struggling at something, might as well struggle at something that I love. So that's why the shift kind of happened for me. And it was pretty much like very organic, very, I don't know, it was like cosmic choreography. I couldn't have planned it. It just happened. And here I am.
But you're also very good at it. Because you went to UCLA and I know you did very well there. So is it because you are anyway good at whatever you do, or is it because there was something at UCLA that made you shine?
I loved UCLA in that I think they really give you the space to find what your voice is as a writer. And it's just nice to have that little community and that little bubble, if you may, in which you can experiment, you can write. I mean, I wrote a lot, and the way the program is structured there, every 10 weeks you have one new script. And that's if you take like one class. If you have more than one writing class, which they don't recommend, but sometimes we do that. You have multiple scripts. So I guess like just the process of writing, because they tell you, I mean, the first 5 scripts you write, you need to throw them in the trash. They're no good. Only after that you kind of begin to see what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, and then you start to like, you know, kind of polish those a little. So I think the advantage of that, I mean, there were many advantages, but one of them was just the sheer volume that you write. And then you learn and you see what you're good at, what you're not, what your strengths are and what they're not. And yeah, you go from there.
I'll be very honest. In fact, let me make it very public. The intention is to spend 90 minutes here in a way that it really, really helps you. Now, practically speaking, all 4 of us are going to try doing that. We can't predict that it will happen, right? But I'll try to ask questions which are relevant, and I trust them that they will guide us in a way that is useful. How nervous are you guys? Are you guys okay? You're doing well?
I think the lights are throwing me off.
Okay. All right.
But it's fine.
How are you, Suchita? You're good? Akshay? Nervous? You're nervous? Okay. So let's start with the most important thing, so that then if you feel like that it's, basically put all your energy to answer this question, which is coming up, which is the most important question for everyone. How do you make it into the industry? How do you break in, and how do you find a place, and how do you make sure that you are writing stories and you're getting paid to write stories? How do you do it? Now, I don't think, so all of us have had our own respective journeys. So let's imagine that a friend of ours who really wants to do it comes to us and asks us कि मैं क्या करूं यार, मुझे फिल्में लिखनी है और वो करके मुझे करियर बनाना है और मुझे पैसे कमाने हैं, तो मैं क्या करूं? Okay, let's try to answer this question to the best of our ability, and then we'll see. Okay, who wants to go first? Akshay, you go first.
I mean, first I'll say that if I'm talking to my friend, and I'll actually tell her that, are you sure? Like, genuinely, because I feel like when I just got into the industry, if a friend would come to me, I would have been like, definitely do it. Of course, now I'll be, are you sure? Because I see this, like, I've also had my own journey. But I feel like the first and the most important thing I would tell her to do is start writing and have a few spec scripts of your own. I know Sir says 3 at least. He advises on that, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Yashna just said 5. So let's upgrade 3 to 5, write 5 and then throw it in the...
Yeah, 5 go in the trash. And then everything after that is a bonus.
So let's say 5.
Yeah, no, I mean 3 good ones. So your first 5 will, of course, not be counted. the 3 good ones that you think are worthy enough for someone to read and be like, okay, I really like her writing if I don't like, even if I don't like the subject or if it doesn't fit the categories that we are looking for, so that at least those spec scripts then become your calling card. So I'd say definitely do that itself.
Suchita, sorry, just let's explain to everyone what a spec script is.
A spec script is something you have no guarantee of getting made. It's something you don't get paid for, but it's a story you really want to tell. Which, of course, the positive of that is that you are really excited by it. It's something that you can get up every day in the morning and write without being paid for it. And I think that when you're doing that, that also ensures quality more than anything else. So that helps, I feel. So yeah, that's what a spec script is. So I would start with that, and I would also definitely get some kind of education in it. If you're teaching yourself, or if you're attending lectures, or if you're going to film school, but structure really helps. I feel like I don't know whose quote it was. Sir will tell us, but first rule, learn the rules, and then distort them later. So for it really helps to have some idea of structure. And to break in is the most difficult question, I think, here. But I think it helps to team up with the right person. Like, I feel like soon enough, I was very lucky to start co-writing with a friend of mine who's also a director, and whose vision I could trust. So that really made the entire journey much easier. And then it's like 2 of you doing it. So, and then it's, I guess, both your efforts together. So.
Okay, so before we let you rest, so your friend who wants to make it into films has written 5 scripts, 3 of which are good, and has made no money through those 5 scripts, but those are stories she really wants to tell. And she has trained herself either through a film school or she is self-taught, and she also has found a couple of friends who are good writers or directors, and so she has people who she can jam with in the course of the journey. Does this guarantee entry into the industry, or a job, or a commission project, or being a part of the writer's room? Because if no, then what else should she do?
So it does not guarantee it, for sure. But having said that, and I don't think there is one way, so I can't be like, you should do this. But what I will say is that of all the people I know, if you keep at it, if you just keep at it, I don't know a person who wants to write and is good, that being the key word, who doesn't have work, or is like, nothing is happening, or I'm not even, say, writing a show that will get cancelled in a few months. But at least you'll get there. So I feel like the industry takes care of you enough if you know if you are good and if you keep at it. And by keep at it, I mean take 5 years, 6 years. I don't mean a year or so, and then you let it be. That's too less a time, I think, in this industry. But I wouldn't say there's one way, but I would be like, just keep going.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Akshay, how can we help this friend of ours who wants to break in?
I mean, as Suchita said, there's no one way, there's no right and wrong way. I mean, this is something we have to figure it out for ourselves. And I think if I am telling somebody this, giving advice on how to break in, I think if they have the opportunity to go to a film school, I think that is something one should always do. I mean, by film school, I mean getting a formal education, because when we consider any sort of profession, that is the first thing that comes to my mind. If I want to enter any profession, I have to study, I have to learn the craft, and that the same logic has to apply to writing. I mean, if you know the basic, the fundamental things, it just helps you more. So film school, going to a film school is something that I would tell this friend.
हाँ, but कहाँ हैं film schools? हमारे देश में there are very few film schools. All three of you have been to premium institutions, but we do not have enough. I mean, the amount of aspiration that this country has, the number of film schools absolutely don't do justice to that. And then we have FTI, but how many people were in your batch? 11 people. So what if this friend of ours really tries but doesn't get into any of the film schools? Because I have a feeling that a minuscule percentage of the audience will perhaps be able to do that, right? So then what do we do?
I mean, there are other ways to learn. There are books you can attend, so many screenwriting workshops, so that you at least know the basic fundamentals of what you're getting into. I mean, something, even though I have attended film school, and like something that Suchi also said pehle about what she wrote, Cry. I mean, that is something that I relate myself, because everything that I've written in film school, I have never gone back to it, and I can honestly say that is the worst writing I've ever done. And what it helps you, because that is a place where nobody's judging you. You can make all the mistakes that you can, and you can make all the mistakes there, so that when you come here and you're working professionally, you're not doing the same thing again. But going back to that question, I mean, at this point itself, I find myself going back to so many things, like, which is basically how she mentioned how there are online avenues now. There are so many channels on YouTube which have amazingly detailed descriptions of each and every aspect of screenwriting. There is a podcast called Script Notes, which has over 600 episodes, which is run by 2 screenwriters from Hollywood. I mean, that is a gold mine. I mean, you don't even have to go to a film school. If you just listen to those, you will know everything that you want to know.
This is what we hope that this session will do, because ये podcast का नाम बताओ यार, ये तो मुझे भी नहीं पता है.
So this specific podcast, and I vouch for this personally. I tell this to everybody. There is one episode on it. The episode number is 399. It is called How to Write a Movie, and in that, Craig Mazin, who's written Chernobyl and Last of Us. So he sits down and goes through the entire process with, I think he takes the story of Finding Dory, and he goes through the whole process of each and every fundamental aspect of screenwriting till the end. And if you listen to that podcast with your idea in mind, I have this log line for a film, and you listen to that podcast and apply everything he says. By the end of the podcast, you'll have a proper story, you'll have characters, you'll have a structure, you'll have everything.
So episode 399 of which podcast?
Script Notes by Craig Mazin.
Okay. Good. There's a leading question that comes after this. I'll ask that question to you guys. But Yashna, so this friend of ours wants to break in.
Well, good luck to the friend. No, I'm kidding. No, you have to basically just continue to write and get as many people as you can to read what you've written, and then give you constructive feedback on it. Learn how to take notes. I mean, I guess my biggest piece of advice is, like, find a group of friends, like-minded people who are interested, whose work you think, you might appreciate, or whose voices you might appreciate, or even if they're completely different, and their style of writing, their genre of writing is completely different from what you write, that's fine. But, like, find a group of people who are sincere, dedicated, meet once a week, and then go back and, like, write more pages, send them in at some point in the week, read them, come back. Like, that's how basically start your own little workshop, and keep writing till it gets better and till somebody feels that it's good enough to actually share with the industry. And, like, I guess once you have a solid script, and then you'll know once the notes start to become, like, very few, and once you'll know when it's, like, good enough to share, then you share it and you kind of request. And I guess, like me, it's a huge thing to ask someone to read your script, and even for them to take the time to read it. So always be appreciative of it, but also, yeah, just, like, try and get as many people to get their eyes on it, because then they share it with other people, or they'll give you feedback, or you never know, like, where it goes from there. But so first step is, like, get it in the best shape you can, and then, like, send it out slowly but surely.
Do all of you have a feedback group?
Yes.
How many people do you think you have as in your core feedback group, Suchita?
I'd say at least 15.
15 people you can trust, and their feedback helps you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Akshay?
5 to 7 people.
5 to 7? You think 5 to 7 is enough, or you would want more people to enter that group?
Yeah, I'm happy about that. Like more people, like newer perspectives that I get is always
But is
better
5
for
to
me.
7 enough?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it is? Yashna?
Yeah, 5 to 7 of us, like we meet every Sunday. I've been slacking a bit, and so I don't show up to the Zooms that much. But, you know, it's been going on since like 4 years now, one of our writers' groups. So 5 to 7 is good. And then I also like know a lot of writers, and I know what they like to write or what their kind of like, you know, expertise is. And so I won't hesitate to like ask someone like, hey, is this up your alley? Would you be kind enough to read? So yeah, I guess like I have more than 5-7 people to reach out to at any point, which is nice.
So I think 5 is a good number. Suchita, I'm happy for you.
No, I mean, I would like to say that the 15 people I'm talking about, they're not all writers. And I think that helps, because I feel like maybe writers are 5-7, but the other half is just people who are reading it, who are consumers, who are readers and different stages. Because I feel like sometimes a writer's feedback is very driven according to structure and writing, and it's not actually, I mean, we get in our own head, so.
Okay, so let's pursue this further, because I absolutely agree with you that you need to train yourself, you need to keep writing, and you need to have a feedback group. Okay, out of these 3, I think having a feedback group may look difficult, but it is the easiest of the 3. No, like having a good feedback group. So, but how do we find those? So this friend of ours has no friend in her life, and she wants to build her own feedback group. So how do you advise her to, like, where will she find her 5 to 7 people?
I mean, if she's my friend, then my friends will become her friends. That's the first thing I would do, like introduce her to the 2 other people here in the panel, and basically my peers, the people who I go to. I mean, other than that, of course, if she's part of any of these, like if she's going for online lectures or if she's going for workshops, that always helps, because you kind of connect while you're sitting in the audience and trying to learn, or while you're on a Zoom call and you're trying to learn. Yeah, I mean, and it would actually be lovely if we had a different, like an exacting forum for that or something like that.
This is that forum.
Yeah.
And we have, you know, hundreds of people come every month, and those who are watching us on YouTube, please try to come sometimes in person also. But often, a lot of writers, when they assemble, they try to click pictures with Zama sir and other celebrities here, when they should be spending that time finding that friend who will form that feedback group. I think that will help you more than that photo that you post on Instagram, despite Zama sir's blessings with you. All right. So this feedback group, you want to add something?
I wanted to add something about this, the breaking in aspect. When we talk about breaking in for a writer, it's always it's seen as something that I have written. With my story, how do I break in? But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Like, for example, how I started, I did not have anything because I considered what I wrote in FTI not good enough. I had that clarity early enough. But when I started, I did not come with any of my writing. I joined a production house as a researcher writer. And I feel something like that is a very interesting space for young writers to start, because you get sense of what the industry is like, what are the different aspects in the overall filmmaking process, because this is just one small aspect of the entire process. So that is something I think we have to be open for that, because coming in with our stories, the problem with that is, I mean, even if we take feedback from a lot of people, it might not be good enough. But working in these different places will make your stories good enough, because you learn so much from there, which you will apply to the story. You'll learn something more interesting about the stories that you're writing, about the craft and the entire craft of filmmaking itself, which will make your story better and easily sellable. So I think that aspect of breaking in, instead of going with your stories, but being part of some other production house or a studio.
But how does one do that? See, this is the chicken and egg problem. Because see, Akshay, you had the brand of FTI with you, if nothing, right? And you are smart. And maybe when I was as old as you, I was half as smart. I was not as smart as you. Basically, because you know what you're saying will be a relief for a lot of people. कि चलो अपना नहीं लिखने से भी हो सकता है कुछ, कोई नौकरी दे देगा तो हो जाएगा. But how does one get that break? How did you get it? And you know, how do we guide others who are at that point in their career where they should get into a place like that?
So I mean, I got it because somebody like FTI, having FTI in my profile definitely helped in it. But somebody who was confident on my work suggested me somewhere, and then the interview happened, and that's how I got it. But in general, if you don't have a film school stamp on your profile, I mean, I have known of so many people who've got through cold emails, who've got through networking on LinkedIn, where you don't really have to go outside of your house. You use the internet, find people, message people, this is what I have. And I think one very, good place to enter the industry is a film set, like getting an AD gig. So that something like that, where you are already, you are becoming part of something that is going to get made. And it is, from what I have heard, it is not that difficult to get a gig, something like that. And where you meet people from different specializations.
Hold on. Even if you want to be a writer, you don't want to direct, you only want to be a writer, you would still say that get an AD gig?
I would suggest. I mean, mainly because it's not about doing an AD gig, but I feel you need to know how the whole process works, because writing is so disconnected from the whole real process, because this is us, like I am writing or the three of us are writing, and there are so many stages that come after that, so many people that come after that. And at sometimes it can feel disconnected from that. So I feel, and I have been on the other side where I was not exposed to the filmmaking process, and my writing had been a certain way. But I feel my writing has gotten better when I've understood that process, understood how things are made, understood how the scripts change at a shooting level. It has just helped me in a positive way.
So, आते हैं आप पे, हाँ, अभी अक्षय के साथ, because I disagree with you. Okay, so let's try to come to a middle ground. Akshay studied at FTI, did a lot of writing. All of that writing was bad. Entered the film industry, right? And then he got more wisdom, insight, opportunities, and his writing improved. Another Akshay has done no writing, has not learned screenwriting, gets the same job. You know, a big part of writing bad you did in FTI, right? So should we shake hands on the fact that you do your spec writing, you keep doing that, let 5 bad scripts get out of the way, while also trying to get an opportunity like this?
Exactly, yeah. That is what I'm saying. Yeah.
So if we because looks like it's not going to be easy, because ये लोग सब बोलते हैं उसके बाद फिर बोलते हैं but इससे entry कैसे मिलेगी, तो ये चुप होके सोचते हैं, right? Which means we can easily for now we can say that study the craft, keep writing, build a feedback group, keep finding job opportunities inside the film industry, do all 4 and just stay at it. And Yashna, can you help further? You need to add something else to this list, or is this enough?
I mean, that's plenty. I feel like it might be too much. Like maybe if you feel like you can focus on only 3 of those at a time, like don't stretch yourself too thin, I will say. Because I do know when you're like on a film set, it's hard to do anything else. Your hours are crazy. I wouldn't be able to do it. Like if I was shooting, all day, all night, I don't know when I would write. So maybe there's like that's one way definitely to like make contacts and meet people, but maybe there's another way that works better for you. So like, yeah, I would say don't feel like that's the only way. But if I were to add something to that already long list, I would say maybe like watch, I mean, it's a no-brainer, but like watch everything, or watch, you know, most things. And if you can, like read the script, and read it later and then watch the, you know, or like whatever, you could flip the order in which you do it. But it's always a fun exercise and you learn a lot from like what the filmmaker, what the writer's intention was, and how that ultimately translated on screen. So that's a fun exercise, like keep doing that, I guess.
Before we upload this on YouTube, Sanchit, let's have these graphics, supers as a list to all this. Like, you know, training, writing spec, feedback group, try to find a job in the industry, okay? Now, does networking help? And if yes, then what kind of networking helps? And this person knows no one in the industry. And we can start with Yashna for a change.
Yeah, I think it helps. I mean, it's only helped me. When I was a student, I'd like reach out to people who I admired, and I mean, it's kind of like a Hail Mary. You just send that email and obviously be really respectful and be very kind, and, you know, don't like expect them to respond. But if they do, it's like a bonus. You know, you're not going to lose anything at all. So yeah, like I did a bunch of that. I guess people will always have advice to give you, and that's like always great. And then they'll introduce you to like more people, or I mean, you won't come out of the meeting feeling like, oh, I wasted my time. It'll always be the opposite. And you never know, like a meeting you have, say, 4 years ago will culminate in something today. Like it could be an opportunity. But I guess like don't go in with the intention of like, I need to get something out of this meeting, but go in kind of, you know, wanting to introduce yourself, speak a little bit about your work, and just genuinely like seek some advice, because everyone's path is so different. And everyone gets there, you know, in their own way. So it's always nice to learn how different people did that. And yeah, it'll only enrich your process.
I think this definitely helps. If someone approaches me with the intention कि आज ही script पढ़ा दूँ, तो I'll definitely not read the script. But कोई मिलके अच्छे से बात करता है, बहुत अच्छा event था, फिर कभी धीरे धीरे एक रैपो build होता है, then मैं ही पूछ लेता हूँ कि क्या करते हो तुम, क्या चल रहा है लाइफ में, तो धीरे धीरे then it becomes better and a more organic relationship. Akshay, where do you go to network?
Network, I mean, it happens in events like this. That's what I mean, I'm trying to remember when I came to Mumbai what I used to do. I mean, I've gone to places like this, film screenings. There's so many film screenings that happen, and that is a very nice, I mean, the perfect place to meet network, where you first of all get to watch a film and then get to meet people. And you don't really need a point like a conversation starter, because the film is your conversation starter. And then you can take it ahead. You can meet people there. I think that's a good place.
Okay, so yeah, so the question of networking, is it important and where do you do it?
Yeah, I think it's important, but I feel like like she said, I think it works when you're not driven by that agenda कि network करना है, you know, contact बनाना है, क्योंकि वो दिख भी जाता है, you know, like, and I feel like if you're genuinely curious, because you're also meeting other writers, maybe somebody who's senior to you, and I feel like if you can actually ask them what can I do for you, right? Like genuinely build a connection and a relationship, then it pays off in a very genuine way where you've not intended it. Where do I go to network? I mean, that's contradictory to what I just said, so I don't go anywhere to network, but it kind of happens. Like I feel like I met a great group of you know, fellow film aspirants at MAMI, right? Because we were all just young and like just so excited to watch films. Like he said, it's like the best place, because any film screening, because then again you just discuss what all of you together love. I think lectures, or I mean other than film school, but like any lectures, SWA events, things like that, that you are genuinely actually going for yourself, but you find other people who love the same thing and then you connect.
All right. So again, just furthering this, when I started my career in Bombay, we didn't have something which is extremely prevalent today, which is agencies, talent management agencies. And for example, the bigger ones, they represent as many as 100 writers, right? So I'm represented by an agency and they represent about 100 other writers. What do you think of that? What do you think of agencies? Does that help? Does that not help? If you are not represented by an agency, what can you do to get in? And if you are not represented by the agencies, does that hurt your chances? Are you represented by agencies? Informally?
Yeah.
Informally. Akshay?
Yeah.
Informally. Okay, Yashna?
Yeah, I am.
You are formally.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the merits of having an agent?
I mean, many, like they're countless. You basically have somebody who, you know, is looking out for opportunities for you, and that is invaluable. And they advise you, and they, you know, send your writing to multiple people so that they, you know, would read it and then call you to meet with you. So I would say, like, I've only seen the upside of that. And yeah, it's very, very, I love my agent.
Okay, are you aware of people who are apprehensive of the agency model? And do you have any idea why they are apprehensive? Why they think it may not be a great idea?
I mean, I feel like you need to have like a lot of trust and confidence that this person will actually, you know, bat for you and like go out, you know, on your behalf. And that's always hard to, I guess, establish that trust up front. So maybe that's why people might have some apprehensions as to like, okay, I could, you know, sign with this agency, but will they, like, how can they help me? I guess if they're not clear on that, then, you know, there could be some apprehensions. And that's very valid. So I think it's a process. Like, you have to find someone who you clearly, like, very nicely align with, who you trust, who believes in your writing genuinely. Because you will have, like, ups and downs in your career, but, like, who will kind of, you know, stand by you. And I think your reps, I mean, you represent them as much as they rep you and vice versa. So you have to kind of be mindful of, you know, who is that person who is finding those opportunities for you. And if you're lucky, you'll find someone who, you know, genuinely, like, is a good human being. So.
Yeah, I think we have one thing in common, Yashna. We love our agents. More power to them. But Akshay, Suchita, how does one find a good agent, and what can we do so that good agencies represent us?
I mean, one thing right now that Tulsi has put out a open call for screenwriters and directors where you can submit your spec till the 30th of November. I mean, being one of the...
ये तो facts बहुत अच्छे बता रहा है. Episode 399 के बाद 30th November. क्या बताओ अच्छे से?
Free marketing कर रहा हूँ. हाँ, 30th, the Tulsi, which is the leading talent management agency, has put out an open call to, they are accepting spec screenplays, and then after reading that, they might consider you like being their talent. And 30th November is the deadline, so there is still 17 days to go.
And you would recommend that our friends try for that?
I mean, if that is something somebody wants to explore, I mean, the industry seems to be going in that direction, because that's fairly a new thing that has started in India at least. And since they have put out an open call, I mean, one should take that opportunity, but keeping in mind that you send out your best work, because finally they are going to read and judge you based on that, and your writing sample speaks for you. And so I would like we spoke about the feedback circle. I mean, that is something one should do. You, instead of just submitting by yourself, if you run it through your feedback circle, get good enough feedback, make some changes, and make it strong enough, and then submit, you might stand a better chance at being selected.
Okay, Suchita?
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend it. I mean, specifically Tulsi as well. In fact, what I was going to say is that an agency can really help you, But one of the things that's difficult, especially if you are extremely new, and which is what our friend is, right? So it would be very, it would be very difficult for my friend to even get that access. So I feel like this is great, you know, and if that opportunity is there, if there's an open call, then without a doubt, but without a doubt, good stuff as well, because you also don't want to ruin your impression. But yeah, they really do help you.
Okay, so so the friend now has a lot of guidelines, but she's smart enough to know that you have not really given her any shortcut, right? You have not given her any shortcut, and you have given her a list of many things to do, right? So now she's getting a little upset, and so her question is, how long will it take for me to make it? And make it a brief answer because I'm fed up. Okay? So कितना समय लगेगा जिससे कि मेरे घर पे ढंग से पैसे आए, मेरा करियर सही चलने लगे और मेरे मम्मी पापा मेरे से खुश हो जाएं, ओवरऑल मतलब जो लाइफ में चीज़ें चाहिए वो मुझे राइटिंग के थ्रू मिलने लगे, कितना समय लगेगा? छोटा आंसर दो.
पता नहीं. That's the only answer there is, according to me.
और ये नहीं बोलेगी क्योंकि छोटा आंसर देना था, पता नहीं बोला है. आप बताओ अक्षय.
15 साल.
15 साल. So Akshay is more optimistic. अक्षय कह रहा है पता है, मुझे पता है. पता है मुझे, तुझे नहीं पता होगा, मुझे पता है 15 साल.
नहीं, first you give yourself those 15 साल, then once you reach those 15 साल, then you revisit it once.
Okay, Yashna.
Yeah, time is an illusion.
Save this. She's crushed now.
Oh God.
She's crushed and she might not ever do screenwriting. So please encourage her.
I don't know how to redeem that, but no, it takes a lot of time. Like, it's just, it takes a lot of time. Like, years and years. I mean, you should be prepared. So I will tell the friend to be prepared. It takes a while.
Okay, when did you start screenwriting? How many years ago?
Like, professionally?
When did you write your first long form script? First feature film or first pilot episode?
I thought it was 2004. No, when was it? 2012. Yeah, I wrote my first feature-length script in 2012.
So 12 years ago, you wrote your first feature film. All right. Akshay?
I wrote, started in 2017. So 2018 is when I finished that first screenplay, which is in FTI.
Oh, only 6 years ago. Okay. Suchita?
2014.
Okay, 10 years ago. Okay. So going by what you guys just said, it's been 6 to 12 years. And would you say that at least practically speaking, career, paisa, thoda bank balance, thoda saving, thoda one foreign trip a year, thoda us kisam ka, paying your own rent, बेसिक जो एक किसी भी प्रोफेशन के लिए होता है, बिकॉज हम लोग अगर बीटेक एमबीए वगैरह कर चुके होते हैं तो इस उम्र तक तो हम लोग बहुत पैसे कमा के अभी लाइफ के एग्जिस्टेंशियल प्रॉब्लम से जूझ रहे होते हैं कि क्या जिंदगी का यही मतलब है, राइट? तो would you say that it's been 6 to 12 years and you have reached there, or you think you are still on the way?
On the way.
On the way.
Yeah, on the way. It's going to take, I mean, I'm not counting the time from, because when I first wrote my first script, I then kind of abandoned that and went on to pursue like a whole other career. So since I actually started doing this professionally, it's been a short amount of time, but I have like a number I'm giving myself, and like that's just for me to know. But yeah, what was your question?
My question was, it's been 12 years, or say roughly 6 to 12 years. You think as a career, you have made it a career and it's sustaining you properly, and basically that is done, or it will take a couple of more years?
It takes time. I mean, in film school, they told us that from the time you graduate, give yourself 10 years. And you'll know that you have enough encouragement to keep going or whatever. But usually they say, I mean, they told us 10 years from when you graduate.
Okay, just adding to the facts, I wrote my first feature film 18 years ago. And it was only 4 years ago that I started making decent money through screenwriting. So it was 14 years of wait for me. So looks like you are fairly close. So then how do you sustain yourself? If it is so long, if the wait is so long and it is so demanding a process, how do you sustain yourself in a city like Mumbai?
I mean, it helps to have something else parallelly. If it's not writing, better, because then that can be the work that you're doing, and then this can be the parallel thing. That always helps. Of course, that eats into your time, but I think that's the most difficult balance. That's what we're all trying to figure out.
Yeah, I would suggest, if you don't want to get too far away from writing in terms of where you are, I mean, alternative source definitely helps. Then I think, coming to my same point, you should explore other avenues in filmmaking itself. I mean, then the question of being on set as an AD or involving yourself in a different specialization, like assisting the direction department is one thing, editing is another thing. So there are, if you want to limit yourself to filmmaking, so that is something that you have to be open for.
Yeah, and that's a great answer. And I think there's like one more avenue where you can kind of, I wouldn't say it's quick money, there's no such thing, but it kind of helps if you're doing like script consulting. So it's like as close to screenwriting as you can be, and you're kind of honing your own, skills as you go along. But it also, like, you get paid per script or whatever your agreement is. So that helps.
Yeah, I think assistant editor is a good option, because instead of being an AD where you are physically and mentally exhausted with 200 people around you, assistant editor also because you directly work with the craft of storytelling rather than figuring out ordering food for the star in the van. Okay. Now I have a question for you, which I'm not sure how comfortable you guys will be talking about that, but I think it's a very important question, and I would request you to be as honest as possible. All of you are in that stage in your career where you deal with senior writers, senior directors, creators, showrunners. Let's not talk about producers for now. Let's only talk about the creative people who generally are your leaders. In a writer's room, there's a showrunner, there's a senior writer, and you are working with them. What is your take on the work culture in this industry? And how healthy or unhealthy do you think it is? And when you become senior writers a few years down the line, what are things that you would want to change for upcoming people? And we'll assume that you're not talking about anyone particularly when you answer this question. But let's try to, because at SWA we don't talk about these things, then kahan jayenge? And I hope that all senior creators listening to us listen to our youngsters very, very seriously. How do you think what do you think of the work culture? Also, Yashna and Suchita being women, what do you think of the work culture with respect to gender? And what is good and what needs improvement?
I guess I'm starting. So I'll answer the gender question first. I think it's it's not very different from any other industry. I think that I've actually not faced any discrimination or any discrimination because of my gender. I have not been seen lesser or taken less seriously, but which does not mean that it does not happen, right? But I feel like I've been fortunate to be surrounded by good people, the right people in that aspect. So I feel like it's as much as it would be like it is in life otherwise.
Sure. Our industry is only as good or bad as life. Yeah. Now let's talk about what's good and bad.
Yeah, so what I feel like, if I was a senior writer, in my experience, I feel like I would listen more, because I feel like, of course, with the position of power, it becomes a little more, this is what I want to do, and this is the way it should be. And, I'm the one who's the head writer, or I'm the one who's leading it. Even though, I mean, and I can be empathetic that, of course, they've built their way to get there, but I kind of feel like it comes in the way of what the output is, right? So if as a senior writer and as head writers, we can remember that we're all serving the story, and that comes above everything else. And I think sometimes even entertaining something that you would immediately dismiss, because that's how you let surprises happen. And I feel like that is there a little less. So that rigidity, be more flexible, be more open, listen more.
Okay, so listen more, be more flexible, and less of rigidity is what you think in general can improve. But otherwise, things have been fine.
I mean, when we're talking about writers, you said we're not talking about producers, so...
No, we are not talking about producers, because generally this stage can become a forum where writers or creators are bashing producers and studios. कितनी बार होगा वो? हो गया अभी. I really want senior creators to listen to you. कितनी बार ऐसा होता है that people like you get a chance to talk about it, right? होता नहीं है ज़्यादा. So including myself, what are the things that that in general should improve in this industry?
I mean, of course, know that your way, even though it's tried and tested, is not the only way. And know that unless you are open to try something new, you won't be surprised, like I said. So I feel like, you know, with experience, arrogance sometimes comes along. So hence, listen more. So
Okay. Cool. Akshay?
I mean, I agree with everything that she said, and I mean, I want to paint a better picture, because I mean, I've seen from whatever my experience has been, it has been good. I mean, I don't want to, I think all of us will agree. I mean, at least in this regard, working with senior writers, it has been good.
yeah, I agree. Actually, I'm nitpicking because I have to. But
Of course, you have
Yeah.
to, because I actually want to encourage that. I mean, if every year 3 young writers can tell us how we can improve, I think we should encourage that. And I'm glad that you guys think that broadly things are good. I mean, it's very, very reassuring. Yashna?
Yeah, I think same. I've been very lucky to be working with, you know, producers or creators who have like really trusted me. And I guess every writer works differently, but when they kind of give you that space to work the way you like, that, I mean, you can't ask for more. So I've worked with like a bunch of different people. All of them work differently, but then they all also are very open to, you know, what, I mean, it's been a very, all my relationships have been like full of mutual respect, I would say. So no complaints there. I guess like if I were to give a piece of advice to like anyone hiring, I think I would say like, do you genuinely like this person? Because you have to spend so much time with them in the room, and you know, these things take a lot of time. So when I'm looking to, you know, collaborate with other people, that's kind of what I keep in mind. Like, yes, you're very talented, you're very hardworking, but can I spend like so many hours in a room like talking to you? And so I feel like if people take more time to like get to know who they're hiring, then you're like assured that it will go smooth going forward. So that's something we can do up front. But yeah, I've not, all my experiences have been good.
I must say that all three of you are coming across as very reasonable, clear-headed people. Because you have made it very clear that craft and your practice is very important. You have made it clear that it will take a lot of time, and you have kind of accepted it. And now you have more gratitude for the industry and people who work with you than problems with them. Okay. Were you always like this, or the journey taught you these lessons? That is the first thing. The second question that I want to couple with it is, in this entire process, in this journey, in your work, what is the most vulnerable, destructive, difficult, dark moments that you face? Because looks like the industry and the work culture is not that bad, if I trust the three of you. And as far as the financial growth is concerned, you have made peace with it, right? So then what is the real struggle? What is the struggle which really makes you feel like totally shattered, if it ever happens, can you share that with us? It'll be wonderful if you can.
Yeah, I can go first. I think for me, it's like the uncertainty of everything. Like you're putting in so much time and effort to make something the best it can be, but like the fate of that doesn't rest with you. So it's that lack of control that really sometimes, you know, gets to me and gets to every writer. But yeah, it's the uncertainty of it. I think that's like the biggest struggle, because you never know whether what you've written will reach, you know, the audience that you intend for it to reach. Like you just never know when it will get shut down or how far the project will go. I think every project kind of has its own destiny, which you cannot control. So that's I think where the struggle lies, at least for me.
The uncertainty of it. Okay. Akshay?
This exactly. I mean, because we are part of the process at such an early stage. I mean, and there's so many things to come. Every writer that I know, almost all my batchmates from FTI also, we have all been part of projects where we've worked, where we've written the screenplays, everything has been done, and then the project has gotten shelved. Each of us has, if not one, at least, if not one, two stories individually. So that part of it is heartbreaking, but there's really nothing you can do about it, because we are at such an early stage. And I guess the money part comes after this, essentially, which makes it much more difficult. So that I feel is a heartbreaking thing about this, where you the uncertainty of it, and because you don't have any control over it.
Suchita?
Yeah, I think the question of will it ever happen, because, I mean, yes, Akshay spoken a lot about, you know, doing, working with other people, working on their projects, but I kind of feel like I came here, I got into this to tell my own stories. That's why I'm here. And I think a lot of us came, you know, watching films that changed our lives, touched us, you know, inspired us. And that's what we came here to do. But I feel like the way the industry is really, is that, you know, studios kind of run behind, they want big actors want big directors, and directors have their own writers already there. So it's like they have their own loop, right? And if you are here to tell your own stories, it's very difficult to get past it, you know, because again, of course, then there is Friday ka trend kya hai? Abhi action movie chahiye, abhi ye chahiye. And in that also, again, even in that, I'm saying, even if we find it in ourselves to be like, okay, growing up, I loved action films too. So, or I loved whatever the trend is. And in my 3 spec scripts, one of them is like that. So, sure, let me try and get that one made. Let me channel myself. But even in that, it's that same loop that you want big actors will not want big directors, big, you know, they want big studios. So it's that same circle, big studios, big actors, big directors. And directors are working with writers, so writers don't have an in. So I think that is the most frustrating part of it.
So just to add to the gloom, I wrote my first film 18 years ago. And how many feature films written by me have come out? One film in 18 years. This scenario will change over the next few months because a series I've been working on is about to come out. But more or less, I think our odds are more or less similar, like, you know. So irrespective of whether you are from Bihar or Goa, looks like very few releases in many, many years is our fate. Okay, so obviously this person is totally... Because not only she knows now that it's going to be extremely tough, she also knows that 90% of what she writes will never get made, right? So she appreciates Suchita for asking very early in the conversation, do you really want to do it? Right? Thank you, Suchita, for asking that question. But before she leaves and before she is done and before she uses her intelligence for any other craft which will give her more money and more success in her career, what makes you guys still wake up every day and go through this uncertainty, this absolutely long and extended struggle which will take another few years at least? Why are you doing this? Why aren't you quitting? Why aren't you, or what makes you, what enables you to put in the hard work? Because it's very hard, right? And you put in the hard work and then you give it to your feedback group and they read it and tell you how shitty it is. So what makes you do that?
I mean, it's the most cliche answer, but it's the love of what you're doing. There's like no other practice. If you go via logic, like it will never make sense. But it's a huge privilege to be able to do this. And I guess like you have to hold on to the small wins and like any encouragement that you can get. And usually that's what, you know, keeps you going. So if somebody rejected you from a job or like didn't like your script, you might have someone else who, like someone you really admire, did like your script and like said something good about it. So you kind of hold on to the good and you don't completely ignore the bad, but you use it to you know, make yourself better. So don't succumb to the despair, which I know is probably very easy to come by. But yeah, just like remember why you got into this in the first place. Like it's a huge gift to be able to wake up and do this. And so if you feel like you're getting closer, just keep on doing it.
So the love and occasional validation.
Yeah, that helps.
These two things?
Yeah.
Okay, Akshay, please add something more to this. List is incredibly small.
I think it's going to be small only. Yeah. I think I don't know, first of all, I don't know what else I will do if not for this. And fair secondly, because I mean, I've done my engineering, but I've forgotten everything, so I don't think I will be useful in that sense. But secondly, I mean, it's just writing, it's just fun. I mean, it makes me happy. I think more than, because by the time you see a credit on screen or something like that, so much time has passed and you've gone through so much. I think for me, what gave me more satisfaction when I'm writing something and I've corrected that, just like when you're lost in that world, in those characters that you have created, you have control over and nobody else. It's just fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with Akshay because I feel like there's nothing else like it. I mean, for my friend over there, all the despair aside, there is really genuinely nothing like it. And I feel like all the gloom that there is, it's about everything external, you know. It's my relationship with the industry, just say with what you started, you know. But in my love story with my writing, that's amazing because every day when I get up and if I'm having, like I'm blocked like this year, I'm just having a bad writing day. But after 5 of those or 10 of those, when I have that good writing day, it's all worth it, right? So if I can hold on to that joy and I can know that success does not mean only my name on the screen, but it also means that I cracked the smallest motivation of a character, or I wrote a screenplay where I did not make the mistake that I made in my previous one. So the smaller wins and the fact that I get to be really happy while I do it, that's amazing. And I feel like I, on a regular basis, meet people who are living for the weekend, you know, and I'm living every day because I'm writing, so.
I know that all three of you are very persistent writers. You really enjoy writing and you keep writing, you stay at it. And that's why I totally get it, what you're saying. And I hope everyone in the audience sees this, that ultimately the persistent effort that they are making every day, 5 days a week? 5 days a week or every day?
Every single day.
Oh my God. Akshay? Every day, Suchita?
Every day.
Oh. So yeah, so the kind of persistence that they are exhibiting comes from their love for writing, and that is where they feel happy, because there's no one else coming between what they're writing and themselves. Can I answer this question? Huh? Love for writing, yes, but I want to really describe it, because love for writing तो है, of course, but I think हम सबके love का कारण अलग-अलग है. There are people who are writing because they have things to say, right? They have a worldview to express. They have stories. They have the lives that they have lived is so fascinating that they want to tell these stories. There are some people who write because they want to know. Because every time they are writing a story, it is an invitation into a new world, and it's an invitation into new people and their minds, right? I don't think I have much to say. So the first option doesn't really work for me because I'm a prototype of privilege. Upper caste, Hindu, middle class, male from North India who speaks in Hindi. So I don't really, when I look within, I don't think I have a lot of stories to tell, and I'm not very proud of it. But I'm fascinated with a lot of things in the world, so every story is an opportunity to know more. But the biggest thing for me is beyond these two things. The biggest thing is the mystery of our craft. Our craft is such a mysterious craft that you are working on it every day, and then it's like shooting in the dark. You don't see anything, and then there's one lightning which reveals something, but then that lightning is gone, then it's dark again. But you saw that it was there that you had to shoot, and now you are aiming there without seeing it, but somewhere there, right? And every time there is a lightning, every time there is a flash of brilliance or a flash of magic, and every time it reveals itself to you, I think that is so incredible. That is what really, it's like a game. It's like a puzzle that we are trying to solve for many, many years. And that really keeps me going.
So I have one more thing that just reminded me of that. The craft, like you said, is amazing. But also, I feel like writing teaches me about life, right? That in our script and our story, like my co-writer and I often discuss this, that we have a character and they have a want, but they won't get the want until they get their need. Right? For us, what is our need? What is our misbelief what is the thing that we need to let go? What is the truth we need to learn? How do we need to transform to be happier? And I think so that's what writing gives also. While you're doing it, you're also learning about yourself, because if I can think about my character's flaw, then what's mine, right? So.
Wow, I'm glad that we did this little thing, because now I think our friend is inspired a little. Okay. At SWA, we are trying to be there for the community of writers, and we are trying to do as much as we can. I think all of us know this, but all of us who run SWA as EC members, we are working writers, and we get elected. And then we have a 2-year tenure where we try to make policies and we try to execute those policies so that overall as a union, we can benefit the community, right? I ask the three of you, you come from a generation which has never run SWA, right? There'll be a day when you will get elected as an EC member and you will draft our policies. But people as young as you and younger than you, what can SWA do? And it can be wild answers, and I don't promise, like some of the political leaders, that I will we can transform your life. But what do you think SWA can do so that things become better for the upcoming writers? We are doing a few things, but what else can we do? It's a very genuine question. Surprise me with something.
I think one thing that I would like to start with, what the good things SWA are doing. I think great opportunity for all of. I've been participating for it for the last 2 years. So 3 years, and because it if not anything else, it gives you that hard deadline. You are supposed to write something, and the kind of opportunities you are getting to meet 40 producers, 40 production houses coming to listen to your pitch. And essentially, you are not just pitching the story, but you're pitching yourself also. So there's so much to get out of that. So I think Pitch Fest is something great that SW is doing.
Akshay, date बताना. Date 7 January.
7 January, yeah.
बता.
7 January
Series.
SW Fest, और इस बार series का है. So please submit.
Please submit. हाँ, अक्षय जिसने हमें 3 बातें बताई हैं, अब तीसरी बात इसने ये भी बताई. No, thank you, Akshay. Yeah, the Pitch Fest is good, and when Suchita mentioned that it was the Sundance Lab, which often not getting selected is not too bad, because not making it to top 25, you anyway do a lot. I know writers who apply every year because it's a part of their calendar now. कि अभी SW ने announce किया है Pitch Fest, तो मैं apply तो कर रही हूँ, उसके बाद आगे का देख लेंगे, right? So of course that is. Of course, that is a huge opportunity.
I had submitted something for last year's SW Pitch Fest, which got rejected, but it got me something else, which is, I mean, for me, values much more than anything else. Something that I can't mention, but yeah. So there's so much to get out of that itself. And
what more can SWA do?
So I mean, in terms of, because we were speaking about the feedback circle, feedback group. I mean, as much as we can get feedback from our network, from our friends who are writers, who are not writers, producers or directors. So we can get those different point of views. But in terms of network, we'll have access to people who are sort of in the same level of experience as us, might be a little more. So I think something like a mentorship thing where some senior writers could read our specs and give their feedback on it. Because of their experience, I mean, that would be something that would be very helpful. I mean, so that's something comes to mind.
No, I agree with you. In our industry and in our country overall, the culture of feedback is not as solid as it should be. Like Yashna will tell you the way it is in the West. The alumni of UCLA, they keep coming back, and it's like the feedback from industry is more like, it's not extremely easy, but it's slightly well structured. Of course, the second problem is that we have 50,000-60,000 members at SWA, and even if 1,000 of them are, 1,000 is nothing, but even if 1,000 of them are serious writers who need feedback, giving feedback to 1,000 scripts is impossible, of course. But I think I at least never thought of this, that we could have seniors who could volunteer their time, maybe 5 scripts a year or something. So if we have 20 such people volunteering from the industry, we have 100 scripts that can be okay. It's an interesting thought. I don't know what we can do, but it's an interesting thought. Thank you, Akshay. Suchita, you have anything to say?
Yeah, so with the Pitch Fest itself, what comes to mind is, I think the reward, because Sundance and other Pitch Fest or other programs like these, they have a prize money that really helps because we are talking about how difficult it is and how the finance aspect of it is a big one. So if SWA can do that for the winners of the Pitch Fest in whatever capacity, however that can be done, I think that would really help, because you're also encouraging then the winners to take some more time, not have to do commission projects or another parallel thing, and give that time to their writing.
So, Zama sir, I've taken the liberty of asking this question, and but the more they are answering, I'm getting scared now. Let's. You will answer? Okay. So, can I ask Yashna also? Because I'm now getting scared. It makes sense. It makes sense though. Yashna?
I mean, yeah, I think any opportunities for just people who love film to come together, be it like on a peer level or like a mentor level. I guess more of those, like the more the better. You can never have enough, I guess. So that it's very vague advice, but
Yeah. Like we do one event a month. We can of course do more. I mean, we can, as in practically we can. We have the resources.
Also, if I may add, like the people who win contests, like maybe have more winners, or like, you know, like we were discussing, just get more, like the runners up, give them also more opportunities, not just the winners. Yeah. I think that could help.
Okay. A lot of this will happen with people like you joining us, right? So, although I think all of this is valid, just keep this in mind that sometime in near future you will receive a call from us asking to be a part of this. Zaman sir, you want to answer this later in the end? Okay, cool. I think this is a good time to open the room for the audience, because this is a good, like, you know, the SWA interface is a nice segue into the Q&A. So we have the microphones with volunteers. Let's have some really good questions that our three guests can answer.
My name is Pratham Rana. First of all, I think on behalf of all of us here, thank you for doing this. This helps. I have two questions. One specifically for Yashna ma'am. So we talked about for me, you're all ma'am and sir. So we talked about the practical aspect of script consultancy and editing and all of those. You've had a background in copywriting and working on ad films as well, writing. How did you get into it? What are some of the resources you would suggest? And how would you suggest someone else go about it? Because for a lot of us, maybe editing or script consultancy might not be the thing. Or we might not be in a position where we might be qualified enough to consult on someone else's script. But for us to work with our writing in some capacity would really help.
Right. Thanks for the question. So, like, how did I get into script consulting, or like, how could one get into that?
Copywriting and ad films. I'm sorry.
Copywriting and ad films. I mean, I guess it all comes down to communication. If like there's courses, there's programs, hone that. I think the best way to get any kind of knowledge is like get an internship. So you have access to the way a very specific way an industry works. And you're learning from people who are actually doing that. And if you're lucky enough, you'll meet someone who's kind enough, you know, you can shadow them and see how they kind of do it. So yeah, I mean, I train formally in both. So maybe my advice, you know, it will be just get as much training as you can. There's programs, there's certificate courses. In fact, even there's these like free, like Coursera, and I forget like what are the other platforms, but you don't even have to pay for, for any certification. You just like put in the hours and you get qualified. I think once you have the qualification, it all comes down to like letting people know that you have that. And so that's where networking helps. So go on LinkedIn, you know, don't spam people, but like find people whose career you maybe want to shadow or like maybe want to emulate to some degree, and ask them how they did it. And how they kind of did it. Like for me, I got a formal education and training in both of these, and that's what really helped me. For script consulting, like my internship really helped me because that's what I did for 1 year. I just read scripts and novels and like writing samples, and that really helped me like as a writer as well. But yeah, doing any kind of development work, like just get into any production house as an intern. They usually take them in the summer, I believe. Like that happens even in India. So yeah, do as many internships as you can is what I would recommend.
Thank you so much, ma'am. My second question. Yeah, this has been one of the talking points for SWN writers in India is about payments. So we covered a lot of ground. I think one of the other questions also on our mind is you've done all of these topics. You're going out there in the industry. You've also done your bad drafts. You're finally going with something that you believe could be good enough. How do you, as a new voice, ask for your worth and what is valuable? Not at a stage where it is being considered, but where a stage where they're taking it seriously, especially when you know that there is money in the industry, that it is going to go to the entourage team with the stars. It will go to a lot of other places. And if they consider story to be so important. But as a new voice, how do you kind of, talk about that? Because you also don't want to come too cocky or arrogant, but at the same time, your story could also be something that makes an impact. And later, you might realize that, you could have asked for more. So how did all of you deal with that? How do you still deal with that? What would you encourage new writers to do about it?
So, I mean, of course, you have contracts, and that's when agencies really help, because a lot of times they do the talking, they do the negotiation for you. They also vet your contract, make sure you're not getting fleeced, you don't have indemnity clause or whatever the clauses are that aren't in your favor. So that really helps. Of course, that requires you to have an agent. But I feel SWA also has lawyers that you can consult, if you don't have another agent. So would you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I think even now in my career, if you ask me how much money I should ask for this, and suppose I don't have agents, I won't be able to tell, because I don't spend my time figuring out the market rates. I spend my time reading and writing. So I think a lot of this for me it comes down to my relationship with money. And I feel that if this much of money gives me happiness, then I make a note of it that this has made me happy. Now, if I get to know that someone is getting more money than that, it feels bad, but not much, because I have made a note that made me happy. Okay, so I think I work inwards toward building an awareness of myself with money, because that's something I can do. Guessing my market rate is not something that I'm very good at. So yeah, and I always have a walking away number. Like if you pay me 1 rupee less than this, I'm walking away. That much I always have in mind. Because I think if we don't value our work, then why would they value our work? So without appearing arrogant, I think I know when to say no and walk away. I think this much of prep we should do before entering such negotiations. We should have a conversation with ourselves, and we should know कि हाँ इतना उसके बाद then and another thing which I would advise is just practical advice. Don't immediately say yes or no to anything. Always take time to go back and sleep over it and tell them that great, I'll get back to you. Because then at least you'll know that okay, if you're doing this for less money, there are other reasons why you are doing this. Maybe you want to work with this director and that's why it is making sense to you. So I think these are the ways in which I handle it, but it's a very personal thing. I mean, relationship with money is like all of us have a relationship with our parents, and relationship with money is very subjective like that. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in the beginning, like, don't let the amount that's on the contract determine your value. So, like, don't let that, just don't. And I know it's a very privileged thing to say, but I think in the beginning, like, just be grateful for the opportunity to showcase your work and to work with, whoever. And just have faith that with time, that number will grow. In the beginning, it probably won't make you very happy. But so, yeah, don't let that kind of deter your confidence or your self-esteem at all.
So you talked about 5 scripts that you need to throw aside. Now I'm asking this question to you as, did you mean scripts or did you mean drafts? Because the word script scared the daylights out of me to say that if I've written, like 5 scripts, throw them away because they are not good enough. Because normally when you write something, we generally revisit till we are actually very happy about what we've written. And we get sleepless nights even after it is published, like I write. So after it's published, I think I should have written, "Arey, ye nahi likhna tha, ye likhna tha." So what exactly did you mean by throw away those 5 scripts?
Great question. For me, like, I'm very hard on myself as a writer, which I wouldn't recommend to most people. So for me, it was throwing the actual scripts, and I've discarded like more than 5. That's just a conservative number. But I guess it's up to you. Like in those, like you said, in that trash of like 5 scripts, you might want to pick something up and like change it completely. Like you might want to write it from a different character's point of view, or you might want to switch up the genre a little bit. So that's like reinventing it, and that's fine. So like, yeah, don't be as ruthless, I guess, with your, you know, because you've put in so much time and effort into it. So that's probably not the healthiest. But yeah, for me, like, I discarded those completely. Like, I think out of 11 scripts that I wrote in film school in 3 years, I only used like 2 or 3 as writing samples, not more than that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to add that, I mean, it depends on how, because it should not scare you and there's no blanket number at all. Like, maybe your first script is amazing, that's possible, right? And it also depends on how many drafts are you doing of a particular script, right? Maybe I threw 3 scripts away and I just did 3 drafts of each script. And maybe you did, the second script that you wrote, you did 15 drafts of it. The quality will differ. So, it doesn't mean there is no number, in my opinion.
अरे ये कहने का तरीका है कि पहले 5 कहानियां स्क्रिप्ट लिख के फेंक दीजिए, मतलब अपने आप को ट्रेनिंग करने के लिए
I understand, sir. I
That's
understand
it.
that aspect of it, but it is still, there may be people who may just think
हाँ,
that is...
It's a very valid question. बस अब मैं कह रहा हूँ ये तरीका है कहने का.
Actually.
मेरी 3rd फिल्म थी चिंटू का बर्थडे, 3rd फेंक देता तो कैसे होता, लेकिन 10 साल लगे रीराइट करने में, तब जाके वो बनी. So it's basically it's the.
How many drafts was Chintu?
10 साल वो याद है, अब ड्राफ्ट कहाँ याद है, बट 10 साल. ऊपर है माइक.
Hello. Hello. First of all, I would like to congratulate Satyanshu sir in this event in such an organic manner. It is feeling like a class. And my question to the panel is, आप ये कैसे assess करते हैं? Suppose आप काफ़ी समय से कुछ लिख रहे हैं, over the period of time आपने लिखा है, उसके कई ड्राफ्ट कर दिए हैं, like 15 ड्राफ्ट किए हैं, बहुत सारे ड्राफ्ट किए हैं, and you are trying to make it, और आप डिफरेंट लोगों से मिल रहे हैं, बट नहीं बन रहा है. So how do you assess कि is it worthy enough or am I not able to reach the right people? So how do you assess?
Yeah, I mean, the feedback loop, of course, helps. And if you get feedback from people who are better writers than you, then that helps. Looking at, so. But yeah, I think feedback, and sometimes what also helps is if you write something and if you're getting mixed signals or you're unsure of it, if you keep it aside and you come back to it after a certain amount of time, then you have some objectivity on it yourself, because a lot of times when you are writing the same thing over and over again, you lose that. So after, like, keeping it aside and going back to it helps me.
The time thing is actually, yeah, I agree with that, and that's something that helps, because from what I mentioned, I've thrown out everything from FTI except one single line, which I went back to, because over in time when you revisit something, it gives you a new perspective. So that is something. And in terms of feedback, the feedback loop, I think it's essential that like they mentioned also, ki, the people who are reading your screenplays need to be people who are not writers as well. Having a director, having a producer in your feedback circle helps a lot. Like I have a producer in my feedback circle, and having her in that loop has changed my approach completely, how I do things and how I structure my thoughts. So I think that is very essential to have people other than writers in your feedback circle.
Yeah. And I also think people who have nothing to do with film, you know, because people who are just audience, right? Those people also, sometimes I get the best advice from them, because they are just looking at it as, okay, will this entertain me? Am I gripped? Did I like reading it? As compared to any other analysis of will it get made, or is the structure right, or any of the technical things.
Yeah, and also sometimes it's just an aspect of like, what is the other person looking for? And maybe they're looking for a rom-com, but you have a high-stakes action thriller. So it's not gonna align like what they want and what you're giving them. So I guess it's just a matter of like, understanding what it is that the other person is looking for. That doesn't mean you change your action thriller into a rom-com, though that would be fun to see. But don't do that. But maybe like start writing and always have like multiple things that you're working on that you can pitch, because you just never know. I mean, sometimes, a lot has to go right for somebody to actually buy your script. So it's it's an uphill battle, and it's a very difficult task. So I guess have reinforcements and backups and, go back to it later, like they said.
During this uncertainty, ने कहा कि 10 साल लग गए, फेथ जो है वो डाइल्यूट तो होता ही है कि वर्दी है या नहीं है.
भाई ये एक्चुअली इन्होंने सब कुछ कवर कर लिया, क्योंकि इन्होंने ये भी कवर किया कि फीडबैक ग्रुप होना चाहिए. इन्होंने ये भी कवर किया कि कुछ समय छोड़ दो, फिर वापस अगर स्क्रिप्ट तुमको बुलाता है तो वापस लौट कर जाओ. इन्होंने ये भी कवर किया कि मे बी जो लोग पढ़ रहे हैं वो कुछ और ही एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं, तो शायद किसी और को पढ़ाओ जो समझ सके कि तुम क्या करना चाह रहे हो. इसके अलावा और कुछ है नहीं शायद.
ऑल्सो एक ही चीज़ पे लाइक व्हाट शी सेड कि डोंट वर्क ऑन ओनली वन थिंग, यू शुड हैव थिंग्स इन डिफरेंट जॉनरास. इफ यू ओवर 10 years if you're thinking that it should be at least 4 or 5 stories that you're working on at the minimum. It is also one important aspect.
बात है इससे ज़्यादा और आंसर इसका मिल नहीं पाएगा, है ही नहीं ना.
The other thing is like for me personally, when I have also felt this, where the things that I'm writing, what is happening, what is the value of this written material that I have. But for me personally, I have found answers in direction. But that's a personal case where I wrote a short story and I went and I made it, which then gave me the satisfaction, no, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is the end game for me. This is what I want to do in the long format. So to sort of boost myself, I decided, or I created this plan of whenever I feel sort of low or lack on confidence or something in my writing is not working, I'll try to make a short film. So that is my process.
अब एक काम करते हैं, जल्दी जल्दी क्वेश्चंस लेते हैं और एक क्वेश्चन का एक ही पैनलिस्ट आंसर करेगा. ये तो तुलसी, मैटर, कलेक्टिव और क्या है, मैट्रिक्स और क्या है, इतने 4 तो पता है, बाकी इन 4 को गूगल कर लो तो और गूगल सजेस्ट कर देगा.
So thank you so much for the insightful conversation. I was just curious, in today's modern day digital world, how important or how AI is used to either write a story or to help write a screenplay?
यार ये AI का क्वेश्चन हर बार आता है आजकल, हर बार एक क्वेश्चन आता ही है. कोई है जो इसको बढ़िया आंसर कर सकता है?
I do use ChatGPT a lot. That's the extent for but that's one thing that is useful about it. If English is not the primary language, I know people who have gotten sort of used ChatGPT to better the English. That's a very very good use case for ChatGPT. In terms of writing, this whole argument about how it's going to take over screenwriting, that is not, I don't see that happening. Yeah. I don't see that happening, but yeah.
हाँ, यहाँ माइक है आपके हाथ में. हाँ,
yeah. So I have 2 questions very quickly. In addition to all the obstacles you've talked about in this uphill battle, what if, because I see a lot of appetite for foreign languages, they're winning Oscars, they're winning Cannes. I don't know about Indian audiences, but even on Netflix, there are a lot of foreign languages that everybody's lapping up. Mainstream audiences, not just cinephiles. So in India, from your experience, what do you feel would be the case in terms of how producers receive an English language Indian film?
ये मैं आंसर कर देता हूँ. ये एक्चुअली न्यू वॉइसेस और ये लोग जो आज स्टेज पर हैं ना, उनके लिए ठीक सवाल नहीं है. हम जिस दिन प्रोड्यूसर्स वगैरह को बुलाएंगे ना, उस दिन पूछते हैं. अभी ऐसा कुछ पूछो ना जो इनके जो ये चले जाएंगे स्टेज से, फिर कब आएंगे स्टेज पे, है ना?
My next question is, I see recently there was a Cinestan winner, and I remember because the celebrity judge had called out his script and spoken about how amazing it is. Then years later, that film got made, but his name was not in the credits. So then I was looking for who that writer was, who got credited. Found out that they probably gave it to someone else to write it for, adapt it for screen. So I don't know the nitty-gritties of it, but I'm just curious that as a new writer, as a young writer, you do run the risk of like somebody hijacking, saying, oh, we love what you've written, but let us give it to someone else who we think is, you know, we're biased towards being more experienced to handle it. And then you are left with, just because you're a new writer, you're supposed to be grateful that, oh, at least you're...
Yeah, this is a valid question. I think we should have covered this. It should have been in my list, on my list. एक डर जो रहता है ना कि इंडस्ट्री आपकी कहानी चुरा लेगी. How valid is that fear?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best place to answer this because register your script with SWA. That's the first thing you do, which really protects you. I mean, there have been instances where a film has come out, somebody has thought that, oh, this, you know, somebody's copied something. And then, you know, because you've registered something, then that becomes your proof.
Yeah, but we can't answer that case. Now we'll answer about the general culture in the industry, right? Yeah, नहीं उतना स्पेसिफिक नहीं कर सकते. इन जनरल चलो मैं आंसर कर देता हूँ. ये सवाल इसलिए नहीं पूछा गया क्योंकि ये उतना है नहीं जितना हमें डर लगता है. इंडस्ट्री जितना बदनाम है ना वैसा है नहीं. अब आप रजिस्टर नहीं करेंगे अपनी स्क्रिप्ट, अगर इन जनरल बता रहा हूँ मैं, इस पर्टिकुलर केस की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, आप रजिस्टर नहीं करेंगे और आप ऐसे चाय पीते पीते लोगों को कहानियाँ सुनाते रहेंगे और आपने स्क्रिप्ट लिखी तक नहीं है, आज तक आपके दिमाग में है, तो ऑफ कोर्स यू रन द रिस्क ऑफ सम काइंड ऑफ प्लेजरिज्म. बट इफ यू पुट इन द हार्ड वर्क, डेवलप द स्टोरी, डेवलप द स्क्रीन प्ले, रजिस्टर इट विद SWA, देन मोस्टली द इंडस्ट्री इज more or less doing fine in that regard. I think we are done for today. I will definitely like to thank these three young writers. You were very articulate and very, I'm so happy that the friend, I don't know how happy she is, but I'm very happy that the three of you really spoke very well. I would like to invite Zama sir to conclude our session.
इसलिए हम लोग यहीं पे ख़त्म कर देते हैं. मेरी कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है वो थैंक यू बोलने की, लेकिन टुडे आई रियली वांट टू थैंक यू. उसकी वजह ये है, इसको तो हम बाद में करेंगे, कि हम लोग बड़े एप्रीहेंसिव थे जब हम न्यू वॉइसेस लाने की बात कर रहे थे कि नए राइटर्स को कौन सुनने आएगा, कौन बात सुन. ये थोड़ा हमारा एप्रीहेंशन था, लेकिन द वे यू हैव रियली वी आर ग्रेटफुल. थैंक यू सो मच. थैंक यू. इससे ये तो अंदाज़ा लग गया कि आप सिर्फ फ़ोटो खिंचाने नहीं आते हैं, आप अच्छी बातें भी सुनने आते हैं. तो ये इल्ज़ाम आपसे हट गया आज. दो तीन बातें जो इन्होंने कहीं, और आई मस्ट से कि बहुत अच्छा कन्वर्सेशन, न्यू वॉइसेस बट मैच्योर कन्वर्सेशन. जैसे स्क्रिप्ट नोट्स पॉडकास्ट की बात आई, आपको बता दूं सत्यांशु, आई डोंट नो व्हाई यू आर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ दिस. नहीं, हम लोग खुद प्लान कर रहे हैं और पॉडकास्ट नेक्स्ट ईयर से हम अपना पॉडकास्ट शुरू करेंगे ऑन स्क्रिप्ट राइटिंग में. और ये इंस्पिरेशन वहीं से आया था, और एक्चुअली हम लोग 6-7 महीने से इस पर वर्कआउट कर रहे थे. इसका एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्या हो और किस तरह से हो. बेसिक चीज़ ये है कि, और जो मैं बार बार हमेशा से बोलता आया हूँ कि whosoever has started writing, अपनी जो 4-5 कहानियाँ हैं ना वो तो रखिए. नंबर 2, एक और बात आई बीच में कि चुरा लेना या ये करना, या फीडबैक ग्रुप कि एक बहुत अच्छी बात है, फीडबैक ग्रुप होना चाहिए, हर किसी के होना चाहिए। कुछ तो राइटर्स के होने चाहिए और कुछ ऐसे लोग जो आपकी ऑडियंस होते हैं, बिकॉज आपका जो एक फ्रेंड सर्कल होता है, सब सिनेमा देखते हैं और सबकी अपनी लाइकिंग और डिसलाइकिंग होती है, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। बस हम ज़्यादातर करते क्या हैं कि बिल्कुल अपने भाई बहन को सुनाते हैं और वो भाई बहन सबसे झूठे होते हैं, क्योंकि आप कुछ भी करेंगे उनको आप अच्छे ही लगेंगे। हर बहन को अपना भाई शाहरुख खान, रणबीर कपूर लगता है और उस वजह से वो यहाँ चले आते हैं। तो उन पे कम भरोसा कीजिए, लेकिन एक ऐसा ग्रुप होता ही है हर किसी में जो आपको क्रिटिसाइज भी करता हो, जिसको आप अलाउ करते हो कि वो कहे कि नहीं ये बकवास था, वो सुन के कह दे कि वो बकवास। यकीन जानिए कि हम लोगों के अपने राइटर्स ग्रुप हैं जहाँ पे हम अपनी कोई चीज़ सुनाते हैं और हफ्तों हमारा मजाक उड़ाया जाता है आज भी, ये क्या बकवास सोचा था। सो उतना आपके अंदर भी वो गट्स होना चाहिए वो लेने का कि आप उस एट टाइम्स आप फ्रस्ट्रेट भी हो सकते हैं कि यार इतना कैसे बकवास मैंने कर दिया, क्योंकि सब बोल रहे हैं। वो आपका जजमेंट होगा, आप बार बार सोचिए उसको, एक हफ्ते बाद, एक महीने बाद, 5 महीने बाद। कई चीज़ें होती हैं। मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, मैं 97 में यहाँ एम्पायर स्टूडियो में मुझे किसी ने मिलवाया इंद्र कुमार जी से, वो मन फिल्म की मिक्सिंग और डबिंग चल रही थी और वो बड़े खुश हुए, बोले अच्छा कहानी सुनाई। मेरे पास कहानी नहीं। तो वो लॉस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी है। यू हैव टू हैव स्टोरीज विद यू। आपको कई बार कई अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी और आपके पास कुछ है ही नहीं है, क्योंकि कोई भी आदमी सामने से आपकी बात सुनना चाहेगा तो बोले अच्छा ठीक है सुनाइए, तो नहीं है आपके पास, फिर फायदा क्या हुआ वो अपॉर्चुनिटी लेने का भी। सो प्लीज यू हैव टू हैव 4-5 स्क्रिप्ट्स जो आपकी बेसिक हैं, उस पर वर्क कीजिए। बाकी जितनी बातें हैं उसको गहराई से सोचिए कि क्योंकि ये हम आप में से जो बात हुई है कितने साल लगते हैं, सच में 7-8 साल तो लगते ही लगते हैं। मैं कई बार यहाँ से जब हम बाहर निकलते हैं, कोई कहता है सर मैं 2 महीने से परेशान हूँ। बोले मैं पूछता हूँ कब आए थे बॉम्बे? बोले अभी 2 महीने पहले। मैंने कहा 2 महीने में क्या, अभी तो तुम अभी मतलब क्या करना है तुम्हें 2 महीने में, क्या अचीव करना चाहते हो? तो वो टाइम लेके आप दूसरा काम भी करेंगे। फॉरगेट राइटिंग, आप किसी दूसरे कंपनी में भी काम करेंगे, इट विल टेक 4-5 ईयर्स 7 ईयर्स, तो उतना तो लगता ही है आपको। तो उतना टाइम आपको देना है। उतने टाइम में आप अपने आप को बेटर असेस्ट भी कर सकते हैं कि यस मैं सही ट्रैक पे हूँ कि नहीं, मैं सही जगह आया हूँ कि नहीं। कई बार होता है कि हमने छोटी छोटी कहानियाँ अपने दोस्तों में कर ली, सुना दी, ये कर दी, बट आफ्टर अ पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, आफ्टर 7-8 ईयर्स आपको लगता है कि नो, आप में नहीं है वो चीज़। छोटी कहानियाँ, चुटकुले टाइप के 4 चुटकुले जोड़ के, जैसे कॉलेज में मैक्सिमम लोग स्किट्स करते हैं, 10 मिनट की, 15 मिनट की करते हैं, लेकिन उसी को अगर फीचर लेंथ में बोला जाए तो वो नहीं कर पाते। ये एक प्रॉब्लम है बहुत सारे लोगों की। तो प्लीज़ उस पर ध्यान दीजिए कि हाँ मैं कई चीज़ें हैं कि ये छोटी छोटी चीज़ें करने का है मेरे अंदर टैलेंट। कीजिए, 15 मिनट की फिल्म बनाइए, 10 मिनट की कीजिए। फीचर फिल्म आप में नहीं है तो नहीं है। शुरुआत में आपको सरवाइव करने के लिए मैं आपको अपनी बात बता रहा हूँ, मैंने ऑलमोस्ट 2-3 साल मैंने डिस्कवरी चैनल की डबिंग की है इनिशियली। दिस इज हाउ आई सर्वाइव, बिकॉज काम मिलते ही कुछ नहीं हो रहा था, ऐसे अचानक नहीं आते, बहुत समय लगता है और हर चीज़ को अचीव करने का एक अपना प्रोसेस है। इन सब चीज़ों को आज की बातों से आप समझिए, इस पर ध्यान दीजिए। थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू सो मच। और हमारा यूजुअल समोसा आपका इंतज़ार कर रहा है।